Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. This is not only an opportunity but also my privilege to be able to talk about the last Valli and conclude the session. It's important that I was expecting that there would be a bit of a mix of things between two of us, but fortunately or unfortunately, Kiran could not come. I think he has probably got involved in some emergency, which he sent a message. In the final section of the Upanishad, Yamadharma Raja focuses on the preparatory sadhanas, which is called the Brahma Vidya Sadhanani, and also talks about the Brahma Vidya Phalam. The first three verses describe the nature of Brahma, which is Brahma Swarupam, in which the universe is compared to a Ashwata tree, and as we have discussed, this expression, this example has come at many places, which was talked in front in the morning as well, and all of us have gone through the Urdhva Moolam aspect, which is the Jagat Karanam. Jagat Karanam means from which the universe comes. Mind you, even in science, universe is a manifestation, and so is in our expression. So there is a commonality. The universe is potential which comes out, and I think that potentiality is proven by science also, because when you break the matter, it reaches a point of nothingness, where there is the particles are called as probability of existence. They may behave as both wave and matter, and a conscious observer like us is required, and that's the Niels Bohr's. It's called as the Copenhagen experiment, which you may have talked about, where the electron can go to two beams. We don't know which beams it goes. When you see, it behaves like a particle. When you don't see, it behaves like a wave. So the manifestation of the universe takes place from something which is potential to create matter. And I think we are not going to spend time on that because it's out of purview of our discussion. So it is vast and mahatvam, adi ananta rahitam, which means it is neither beginning nor end, eternal, infinity. These are all the words used for that expression. And is indriya agochara, which we have discussed so many times, that you cannot, as soon as you see something by the indriyas, it becomes attributed, so it attributeless. Indriyas are working because of this. This understanding has to come to us. And it is spread all over all the lokas and gives phalam in the form of sukham, dukham, and mishritatvam. You can have both, mix of both, or sukh or dukh, which is basically nothing but a feeling in our mind, which causes a feeling in our body, which is, I think, a biophysical phenomena. When we are happy, heart rate is less, eyes are relaxed, we feel fine. When we are unhappy, there is tachycardia, sympathomimetic amines just come in your body, and then you have anxiety and fearfulness. It is all thought which gives, mediated through the hippocampal gyrus and amygdala, causes body reaction, and you have these two expressions. It also gives ashraya and is moving, but also subject to restriction. Not Brahman, but the Urdhmulam tree, which is the universe. The verse, there is one more slide which I had, but anyway. Okay, so I'll go there, then we can walk back, or we can go to the end. Okay, fine. So let's call, I'll just go probably talk about it and then we can go. The verse goes like, Urd Molo Avakshakha Esho Ashwata Sanatana Tadaiva Shukram Tad Brahmam Tadaiva Amratu Uchyate Tasmin Loka Shrita Sarve Tadu Nanyeti Kaschana Etatve Tat. To explain this verse, I'm not going to give the meaning because I will talk about it in the end. Let's call Dr. Sheila, by Sheila, I think she's not a doctor, to talk. She's a doctor? Wow, sorry. I'm so sorry. Dr. Sheila to express this verse, and then we will take over.
Hari Om, Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Today we are in the last Valli of Kathopanishad, and this is the first verse in this last Valli, and which describes the what is that the nature of Brahman, that is Brahma Swarupam. It is in continuation with the last Valli. We saw that we were going through the Brahma Swarupam. This is again a continuation. The first three verses are about Brahma Swarupam. So here, the Dharmaraja compares the whole creation to Ashwatha tree. This is Vriksha Drishtanta. Just now we saw so many other Vriksha, sir also will just talk about it. Vriksha Drishtanta, that is, tree is the best example for samsara because it has got several common features. The etymological meaning which I have taken from Gita Bhashyam, which Swamiji has given, I think Diksha is there here, okay? No, let it be the previous one, Elisa. But, so it means what does Ashwata mean? It means having a fleeting existence. Sta is existing, Swa is tomorrow, Ha not. So Ashwata means not existing tomorrow. It is continuously changing. So what is samsara? Samsara means the whole life of change, including birth, death, old age, disease, the changing universe, and the changing beings. So it is the best example for to compare samsara. So we'll see the next slide. Here, this one, yesterday we had a quiz from Dr. Anupama. Little bit more we'll talk about this. Even sir has now described about this. So first one, what is a comparison? Mahatvam. It is, both of them are vast in their size. Universe is Mahan Prapancha, where we can't find the limits of it. So similarly, even this banyan tree or the people tree, but the people tree we are taking here. Adi Antarahitam, which doesn't have origin or the end. What do you mean by this? See, this tree has come from where? It has come from the previous tree which has given the seed. Okay, so this goes on. And how did the previous tree come? It has come from the previous seed. So this goes on and on. That is, doesn't have any, that is, the origin can't be made out on the anta. Similarly, even the creation. How did the creation come into being? It is because of our karma. So the very purpose of creation is to exhaust punyam and papam. So our karma came from previous creation, and the previous creation has created some more karmas, and that has given to this creation. So it goes and on and on. So it is adi anta rahitam. So next is anirvachaniyam. It is inexplicable. So same similar. So what does it mean? It acts, that is, we can't find the cause and effect. This tree is a cause for the next seed and the next tree, but it was an effect from the previous tree seed. So similarly, even the samsara, we don't know, it is because of the fate or the free will. So both of them mutually exist, both the cause and effect. Moolatvam. Just now we told Moolatvam, that is a visible tree, has an invisible root. So we know that it is nourishing and the tree exists. So in similarly, even the universe, the samsara, also has got adara or ashraya. What is that? That is nothing but the Brahman, and it is Indriya Agocharaha. The next one, Shakatvam. Shaka is branches. So branches are upper, middle, and lower. Similarly, even the universe also has got upper lokas, that is lower lokas, and the middle loka is Bhuloka. And next, Pranatvam. Both that is leaves both have leaves, and the leaves is the one which protects the tree. It draws nourishment from the root. It takes the it produces chlorophyll from the sunlight, and because of this, the tree exists and it continues. Similarly, it is compared to the karma kanda, which perpetuates the samsara birth and death cycle by generating punya and papa karmas. So next is palvatvam. Sir has already told. The tree produces all types of what is both bitter, sweet, and neutral fruits. Similarly, even the samsara produces, that is sukham, dukkam, and mishrapalam. Next is pakshi ashrayatvam. Pakshi ashrayatvam. It gives the pakshis build nest, and they produce noises also, both good and bad things. So similarly, even the that is samsara. The pakshi is compared to jivatma, which is and they are making noise. You can see in some houses there may be celebration, music, and festival. In another house there may be wailing, that is what sadness and death and all. So this samsara is a noisy samsara tree. So chalanatvam, even such a huge tree can be moved by what? By the strong winds. Similarly, even the samsara can be moved by what? That is our prarabdha karma. And next is chedatvam. It can be uprooted and it can be destroyed permanently, even though it is adi anta rahitam, by a suitable axe. Similarly, even the samsara can be destroyed or uprooted by jnanam. So with this, we'll go to the words. ऊर्ध्व मूल अवशाकः एष अश्वतः सनातन तदेव शुक्रं तद्ब्रह्म तदेव मृतं उच्यते तस्मिन् लोकाश्रित सर्वे तदु नान्तेति कश्चन एतद्वैतत्. The next slide. So Asia is this universe, is like a ashwata, that is a people tree, which is sanatanaha, sanatana eternal, that is anta, adi anta rahita, which will not be destroyed naturally, which will go on and on. That is both even after death and pralayam, it can get rebirth and also recreation. Then this urdhva mula, mula is root. Mula is root. The root is a mula for the tree. So, what is the mula or the root for the samsara or the creation is urdhvam. Urdhvam literally means it is up and above. But here we have been learning from past 2 days what is the most superior, most part in the creation is nothing but that is Brahman. So Urdhvam indicates that which is superior, highest, and subtlest. So in creation, that which is superior most is Brahman. So the tree is upside down. So the root has to be up. It is the Brahman is on the top. Avashakaha. Ava means inferior. Shakaha is branches. The samsara tree is endowed with inferior, that is perishable branches. Why inferior? Because it is subject to death, arrival, and departure. Whereas the Brahman doesn't have arrival and departure. So Tad Brahma, the root of creation is Brahman. Tad Eva Shukram. Creation is full of Ashuddhi, Punyam, Papa, Mishra karmas. But Adhara Brahma is not affected by any purities. Take a dream example. The dream world exists or doesn't affect the waker, or the waker is taken as a Brahman here. It exists only because of that is Brahman, and the Brahman is not affected. So tad eva amritam, Brahman alone is immortal. Sarvam tasmin sarve lokashita. All the 14 lokas are based on that Brahman. Tadu na teti kashchana. Nothing exists outside Brahman. The very existence of the dream example, the very existence of dream world is because of the waker alone. Similarly, the existence of any object in the creation is because of Brahman alone. Etad Dvaitad. This is our very Swarupam, that is Brahman. The last slide. So, samsara ruksha, that is karya prapancha, is branches, flowers, trees, fruits, and karna prapancha is root. This both together, that is chetana and achetana rupa, makes the samsara ruksha. This is a samsara varnanam. So, next little bit more, there are certain dosham. It also shows a dosha, that is samsara dosha darshanam also is given by this tree. So, there is all these problems of the samsara is given by this. So how to go, next we go for dosha nivritti. So how to go, that will act as a desire for moksha. So moksha icha is a prerequisite to developing an interest in Brahma Jnana. Hari Om. Thank you.
That was so nicely explained, and I don't think I have to spend time on it. But the same expression is there in almost all the Upanishad. Ishavasyam idam sarvam yat kinchit jagatyam jagat tena taktena bhujjita ma grit kasvidhanam. Saying the same thing. Everything, matter, non-matter, existent, chetana, jada, is all that only. This is the takeaway. And I think all of us probably have understood at least this much, at least in the class. Outside, we'll see later. So Brahman is the Nimitta Upadana Karanam of the universe. Brahman maintains the order in the universe also and is a source of fear. With a weapon, word functions in an order. The universe is very fine tuned. You know, when the creation of the universe was described by the scientists, everything was very fine tuned. Otherwise, the universe could have not taken place. The law of thermodynamics and all start acting there. And so it's called as very fine tuned. So it's very intelligently done. It is actually itself. Brahman is the enforcer of law and maintains dharma, and violation leads to sorrow. And people who know Brahman as the intelligent and material cause of the universe will attain immortality. So that is said in the second verse, Yadidam kincha jagat sarva prana ejati nistratam madbhayamam vajram udyatam e to am, vidu amrataste bhavanti, which means the entire universe, whatever it consists of, emerges and moves because of Brahman. It is a great terror like a person with uplifted thunderbolt. Those who know this become immortal. I'm not going to explain this, it's just a reference to the second verse. So the Lord Yama here explains that Brahman is the source of fear. Maha Maya Bhayam Vajram Udyatam is invisible intelligence which maintains order, and because of that only the Agni has power, because of that only the sun has light, because of this only the rain comes, because of this only the Vayu assists the Indra. And Lord Yama also runs away from the Brahmins. This is the understanding by the third verse. Bhayat syati grasti agnipati bhayat pati surya bhayad indrascha vayuscha mrityur dhavati pancham is Mittir. Yamaraja also runs away. So it is also a source of terror, just that it controls everything. It only means that it controls everything. The next verse will be explained by Mrs. Smita. Iha चेदशकद बोद्धुं प्राकशरीरस्य विस्रसः ततः सर्गेषु लोकेषु शरीरत्वाय कल्पते. Let me invite Smita.
Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. As Dr. Sanjay ji and Dr. Sheila has already mentioned, in the first three verses, Lord Yama talks about Brahma Swarupam as both efficient as well as a material cause of the universe. From this verse, that is the fourth verse onwards, Lord Yama talks about the knowledge of that Brahman as moksha sadhanam. The verse goes like this: Iha che ashakat bodhum praksharirasya visrasaha tata sargeshu lokeshu sharirattvaya kalpate. So, in this mantra, Lord Yamadharmaraja talks about the conditions now required for the Brahmajnanam, that's the preparatory disciplines required for that knowledge, and what are the favorable factors required. The first and the foremost favorable factor is to be born as a human being, and next is to attend satsanga like this, that I should be a human being. As explained in Viveka Chudamani, Durlabam Trayame Vaitat Daivanugraha Hetukam Manushyatvam Mumukshatvam Mahapurusha Samshayah. That is, there are three things which are rare indeed. When found, they are due to the Lord's grace. First is the human birth, Manushyatvam, yearning for liberation, that is Tivra Mumukshatvam. And the third one, grace of a great being, Mahapurusha Samshayaha. We always take human birth for granted. According to the Shastra, 84 lakhs of species of living beings are supposed to be there. So, what is the chance of human birth? It is 1 in 84 lakhs. The first and the foremost thing is to learn and understand the importance of human birth, and next to utilize it properly. Mahat punya punyena Kriteyam kaya Naustvaya param dukho dader gantu tare nava vidyate. It is from one of the Puranas. Now, for crossing the ocean of samsara, we require a special boat. And what is that special boat? It is our human body. It is very costly boat. And what is the cost? Is a great punyam we have, which we have earned. Mahat punya panyena, by paying a lot of punya, we have purchased this boat. And for what purpose? Param dukho dader gantum, to cross the ocean of samsara. And this boat cannot permanently remain. So anytime it may disappear. So before it disappears, if it's before it is lost, it's better to cross the ocean. So therefore, Lord Yamadharmaraja wants iha chet ashakat bodham. A person has to know this truth iha, in this janma itself. Here, iha in this context means manushya janmani. And when sharirasya visrasaha prak, before the body is dropped or gone, that is when one is alive, one has to know this atma. And if a person knows here, the sentence has to be completed by adding samsarat mudyate, muchyate. If a person is knows in this janma itself, he is released from samsara. And if a person weighs this human janma, here, once again, we supply the verse that is Yadi Bodhum na Jaknoti. Suppose a person is not able to know that Brahman in this life itself, then Tataha, because of that ignorance, Sharirastraya Kalpate, Shariratraya Kalpate, he will be fit only for another Janma, for acquisition of another physical body. Lord Yamadharmaraja only says Sharirattvaya. It does not mean Manushya Sharira. It can be any Sharira out of the 84 lakhs of species. Where will he be born? Sargeshu Lokeshu. In any one of the 14 lokas. There is no guarantee there. Sargaha means created. This is an adjective to Lokaha. So he can appear anywhere, and again another human birth may happen after millions of Srishti Jivana. He, that is an Ajnani, will become eligible for body in any of these lokas or lokeshu, but only for moksha. But not only eligible for moksha, it means he will be reborn assuming another body. Shariram grinhati iti artaha. This the Anvaya goes like this. Iha sharirasya vistrasaha pra bodhum ashakat che tataha ajnanat sargeshu lokeshu sharirattvaya kalpate. Thank you.
Thank you, Sheila. So, if you remember, the question asked from Yamaraja by Nachiketa was that Yayam Prete, what happens to me after death? So, he is giving the answer here now, and he's telling that this is the best opportunity you have. Why best opportunity? Because the appearance of the world is sharpest in this world. So, we all have this question that what happens to that Sula Shariram after the death? Body is here. So that is described in the next verse where the Yamadharma Raja is telling Yatha darshe tatatmani yatha swapne tatha pitraloke yathapsu pariv darshe tatha gandharvaloke chaya tapayo riva brahmaloke. So what it means is you can see and understand everything in this life, this bhuloka very clearly, as if you are watching in a mirror. So your clarity of your understanding is best in this loka. When you die, you become in a dream-like state. You don't know. So that's Sukshma Shariram is not able to interact with a brain which has the capability to see through very clearly. So in the Pitraloke, you can see as if it's a dream. So the things are not very clear. Sometimes in the dream, you don't know why this happened. The logic doesn't work there. So the appearance of your body's mind's capacity, because the mind still goes, mind travels, is like Pitraloke, which is like a dream state. Then it says, what is the next stage? The next stage is that when you go to Gandharvaloke, Gandharvaloke as if you are seeing things in water. So the clarity is subject to the wind. It is not very clear. It is sometimes distorted. So that kind of a state you may have when you go to the Gandharvaloke, where Yakshas go. And the last one is in Brahmaloke. Now, the first thing is it's very difficult to reach Brahmaloka. Yamadharmaraja went to Brahmaloka and Jnana was given to by Brahmaji to him. So this all we know. So this is the verse which explains that. In this verse, Lord Yama is describing whether this knowledge can be obtained in the other lokas also, other than Manushya Loka. It can be, but it is difficult that in other lokas, in this loka, the knowledge is the clearest. So that is why human birth is the best birth to acquire this knowledge, and that is why we are doing this satsanga. So then he talks about that if you depend upon your sense organs too much, which are full of ignorance, it leads to attachment. And the one remains in samsara and grieve life after life. Indriyanam prathak bhavam udayastamayo chayat. They come and go. Udaya and asta. Indira's perception will come and go. Prathak utpadyamananam matva dhiro na shochati, which means knowing the distinctions of the sense organ which are subject to arrival and departure. Sense organs cannot be perceiving the same thing all the time. So whatever you perceive, it goes away. Whatever you like, it goes away. Whatever you don't dislike becomes better. The rise and fall, when it is understood by the discriminating one, he will not grieve. This is the meaning of the sixth verse. Going to the seventh verse, Indriyebhu Parammana. Now he is describing how the order goes. We studied that objects are superior to Indriyas in the Ratakalpana. Indriyebhya Param Manaha Manas Sattvam Sattvadadhi Mahanatma Mahato Vyaktam Uttamam, which means mind is superior to sense organs, intellect is superior to mind. I think we have all understood enough now. Intellect is the decision making faculty, and mind is the doubting faculty. Mahat is superior to intellect. Mahat has to be brought in. I think Sundar talked about what is Mahat? That Hiranyagarbha, that is the macro form of the intellect. Unmanifest is superior to Mahat. Now it comes to the less, highest, the subtlest, which is the unmanifest. Avyaktatu paraha purusha vyapako alinga evacha yam yatva muchyate jantu amritatvam chagachati. Atma is indeed superior to unmanifest, right? It is all pervasive and attributeless on knowing that mortal is free and attains immortality. So you see how it is growing from gross to the subtlest and is trying to teach you the Atma Jnana. Ultimately, it is concising the whole Upanishad now in these verses. To describe the ninth one, so I have written that idea of the verse 6 is repeated in the 7th and verse 8 also. The identification of Atma using our mind is the most important part of Brahma Jnana. This process is very gradual, as we were discussing. It doesn't happen in one day. It has to be practiced. That is why Abhyasa to Vairagyena, Abhyasa to Konteya, Vairagyena Grahiyate. That is very important aspect. It needs lot of practice. It doesn't happen in one day. And sadhana, upasana, some time devotion is very much required. It cannot be just that, okay, you come here and go home and then it's finished. No, every day sadhana is very important for this. So let me call the next speaker, which is Dr. Vasumati.
Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. The verse number 9 goes like this. Na sadrisho tishtati rupapasya, na chakshusha pashyati kaschainainam, hruda manisha manasa abhiklupto ya etad viduhu amrutaste bhavanti. Here, Yamadharmaraja, the teacher, is dealing with the preparation necessary for self-knowledge to take place in the mind itself. As Smita just now explained, he talked about the importance of human birth itself. Fortunately, we have already done that preparation. Only thing is, we'll have to utilize this human birth. Then the second preparation that he talked about is Twampada Lakshartha. That is the real meaning of the word I, as seen by the scriptures. It must be very clear, because ultimately the Shastra is going to reveal Brahman as you are that. After elaborately discussing the nature of Brahman, the Shastra is going to point out that that Brahman you are. When Upanishad says you are that, the word you has got a particular meaning. It does not refer to the body part of you, it does not even refer to the mind part of you, but it refers to the formless consciousness which inherit the inert body mind. I or you in the scriptures mean consciousness. If I am able to remain in that I, which is called Lakshyartha, then the statement, you are Brahman, will smoothly enter my mind. Similarly, when the teacher says, Tattvam Asi, the student nicely converts and says what? Aham Brahmasmi. Only when Tvam Pada Vichara has been properly done, then alone Tat Pada Aikyam can be assimilated. Next slide. Then the third one, that is the highlight of this mantra, is the importance of our intellect, which is subtle, sharp, deep, and total. The student should enjoy a sharp intellect, not a gross one, because Brahman happens to be formless. Therefore, the intellect must be subtle enough to grasp the formless Brahman. Such an intellect is a qualified intellect to receive the teaching. Hrida Manisha Abhikluptaha. Brahman has to be known with the help of the intellect alone. So don't try to set aside the intellect. Don't think of transcending the intellect. Intellect is the instrument required for Brahmagnanam. Elsewhere, the Upanishad says mind cannot know it. And here the Upanishad says mind alone has to know it. This seeming contradiction must be resolved. Whenever we say mind cannot know, we mean what? An unprepared mind cannot know. We do not say mind is not required or mind needs to be destroyed. You cannot destroy the mind, and you need not also. Use your mind, use your intellect, which is polished, a prepared intellect, which is referred to here as Hrida Manisha. Next slide. Shankaracharya comments upon the word Manisha as Vikalpa Varjitaya Buddhya, a mind which is focused, deep, which has the listening skill, mind that has got that power to absorb with a great attention span. Such a mind can grasp the teaching at the time of Shravanam itself. It should die to the external world, and it should be deep and focused for a length of time, and that is called Hrida Manisha. Next slide. Samyak Darshanam means the torchlight that is shown by the Guru. Guru Upadesha becomes the lighting, and the focused mind becomes the observer. If you have to see with your own eyes, two conditions are important. What are they? A mirror, and is a mirror enough by itself? And we should have a functioning eye, a properly functioning eye. So Guru Shastra Upadesha is the mirror, and qualified intellect is the Gnana Chakshu. Guru Shastra Gnana Chakshu becomes very important. And when both are there, Etat Ye Viduhu. And what will I get out of it? Amritaha Bhavanti. They become immortal. They own the immortality, which is their true nature. Hari Om, sir. Thank you.
So the nature of Brahman does not fall within the range of perception. Saguna Ishvara is available for darshanam or sparshanam, but the Upanishads say it is a middle state. The ultimate is not available for perception. Brahman is not perceivable through ordinary perception. It can be only known through the Guru Shastra Upadesha. But you have to have that seeking mind, which is what is called as jignasu. The meaning of it is that once you go into that state of trying to know, then only you will go to a Guru Shastra. What will Guru Shastra teach? Guru Shastra will tell you what is the basis, what is the secret, because you cannot understand by yourself. You're not born with this understanding. Even Ramana was not born with this understanding. You have to go to a Guru Shastra. And of course, these people are born in such a way that for them the binding of knowledge is very, very good and clear. The representation of OC in this medium is super. That's why they are able to understand it much, much better. The 10th and 11th verse discuss meditation or yoga abhyasam. The purpose is to develop disciplined mind which can concentrate for a length of time without getting distracted. Now, what is the meaning of yoga abhyasam? What is the meaning of meditation, which we have discussed many times? It is basically to quieten that lake which has got multiple vasanas and the vrittis attached to it. So the Patanjali comes here for action. He says, Yogascha chitta vritti nirodha. What does he mean by that? That when your mind controls all the vrittis, the krishta and the aklishta, which are the thoughts, harmful and non-harmful thought, then you see your real nature. And he talks in his verses, Tada drashtum swarupe avasthanam. When you see your sattva effulges out and you see the real nature. And he talks about the pranava japa, and he talks about Ishvara pranidhana. What is the method to reach there? So Yoga Shastra, which is Patanjali's domain, is also kind of uniting in this area. But Patanjali gives you a technology how to do it, and it is described in the 6th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita as well. Meditation culminates into the stabilization of the mind and the 5 sense organs. Intellect remains focused and is devoid of any thought other than object of meditation, which is, he talks about the vichara, vastu anugata, smita anugata, and anand anugata. These are the 4, what you call as the pratikam he uses in the Yoga Shastra. But this is not the highest goal of life. This is very, very important. Yoga's sadhana provides a platform for Shravanam, Mananam, and Nididhyasanam. That is why clarity of mind becomes very, very important. That is why vrittis have to be controlled. That is why that vasanas have to be controlled. And that can only happen again by a discipline and process, which is practice, abhyasa. That's very, very important. That's why abhyasa is very important. Tam yogamiti manyate sthiram indriyadharanam apramastada bhavati yogo hi prabhavapyayo. They consider the steady poise of sense organ to be yoga. I think this is now coming there, and this verse is describing that. One should be alert at that time because yoga is subject to rise and fall. Because you cannot remain in a meditative state all the time. If you go to a nirvikalpa state, you cannot survive. The body dies in 21 days. Those people who go into the nirvikalpa state, they have to be brought back into the life. Otherwise, you must have heard about that there was a Taiwanese who died. There was this Swaboda, if you've heard about, he's written a book called The Left Hand of God. The Aghora, he's written a book. His great grand guru was in Samadhi for 200 years. And when he came out of Samadhi, he was taken out. It's recorded in the literature. He had 2 layers of teeth. So Samadhi is just a state where you are kind of gone into a hibernation. In that state of ecstasy, where you get the best anandam. That is the state when the Samadhi. But that is not, you will not realize what is Brahman. The knowledge is still required. Dr. Kailesh, please.
Hari Om. First of all, I would like to thank my mother for introducing me to Vedanta and being patient with me for all these years. That's the reason I'm here, basically. And secondly, Dr. Hegde for being kind to me in all these retreats and answering my questions and giving me this verse in spite of not having any background whatsoever. You guys already know that. I've not been part of your classes. But that being said, I'll give it a try because it's very interesting, the subject itself. So this is Kathopanishad verse 2.3.12. It goes like this. Naiva vacha na manasa praptum shakyo na chakshusha astiti brothonyatra katham tadupalabhyate. Hope the pronunciation was fine. So can you go back once? Just the meaning of the words themselves, naiva vacha, not through speech, na manasa, not through the mind, praptum shakyo na chakshusha, either through the intellect or the mind or the eyes, which is I think what you were saying, indriya gochara, something beyond the senses. So something that is beyond this, the second verse says, the second sentence says, Astiti brotonyatra katam tadupalabhyate. As in, that which is beyond these sense objects, how else can it be known apart from he who says it exists? Right? So it's like kind of interesting. I mean, I might as well just stop here, because nothing I say, nothing I show, nothing I like do will be able to throw light on that it. So, so Doctor, can you go to the next slide? So basically, so this is exactly what it was, what I said. So I think here they're trying to bring in a distinction between the subject and the object of an experience. Um, for instance, like now let's just look at the meaning itself. Now let's just do the negative of it. Let's say that it could be shown by speech, it could be known by speech, it could be known by the mind, or it could be known by the eyes. If it were, then it would have been an object, right? And if it were an object, then it would be finite. It would be not eternal, it would be finite, it would exist and then go back. It is not that either, right? So it is not the object rather than the subject. But objects are easier to observe rather than the subject. Like, for instance, what you are mentioning right now, man. Like, when you have the eyes, what do you require to see the eyes? A slight, I would say, a correction there. You said a mirror is required, but yet in the mirror, you're only seeing the reflection of the eyes. The eyes truly cannot see themselves. So the universe, in some sense, is hit a blind spot. It really cannot really see itself. Right? So here the distinction is between the subject and an object of an experience. So just some example that came to my mind. A couple of examples. The first is like something very like experienceable to us. Let's say you want to show somebody a banana. You can show them this is a banana here. They'll say, oh yeah, it's a banana. You want to show them how to eat a banana. You can show that. You can peel the banana and this is how you eat it. But one show the experience of eating a banana, right? That's a very subtle thing. I cannot show you the experience. I might have like 50 people here. I give each of you guys a banana. Everybody is eating a banana. We know we're eating a banana, but the experience of eating the banana is very different. Same gross, multiple subtle, right? So in that sense, it has that character of it cannot, which you cannot put a finger on. Something similar. Okay, the second example. When you talk to people, you ask them what are you doing, or they ask you like who you are, and can you introduce yourself and stuff like that. The funny thing is, I was just talking to my mother the other day about this. Let's say somebody asked me what I'm doing. I'm Akhilesh, I'm so and so, I'm son of so and so, I'm doing this, I'm studying here, I'm doing there, I'm an engineer, I did my PhD, all these things, right? In this entire narrative, every word has definitions. Like engineer means it's a guy who works on something like material stuff and all these things. Son means son of somebody. Name means name, nama. All of these words in a narrative of a person can be described exactly except the subject, which is I. That something which is very funny because the whole thing becomes redundant. You can speak for hours about yourself, yet it is meaningless because the subject of that conversation really has no meaning. Right? So it's something like that. Now, also, it brings about the distinction between the experience and the experiencer. For instance, now when you observe Parth here, he's doing this, but he's so much involved in that the experiencer has sort of vanished. There's a pure experience of using the chalk going in his face, and he's running from this side to that side, stuff happening. The pure experience remaining. So that state in which the pure experience remains, devoid of the experiencer, is probably what is being spoken about here, which means it cannot be shown because everybody's experience is so unique to themselves. So that is the reason in the second line of this verse, whoever has written this is, I mean, amazing. They're saying that how else can it be known apart from he who says it exists? You see, so that's what it is. That is what I have gotten from this, right? And Doctor, if you come to the next slide. And this I was just talking to my mother about, like, what do you think about this verse? So she said, please listen to Parmarthan and Swami Parmarthananda's talks on this. So I did listen to this verse only. I didn't listen to the entire thing. I don't have that patience. Just this part of the verse. So there he was mentioning one part which I found very interesting, which is he said that one should have faith in it or the Nirguna Brahma. Nirguna Brahma is one Nirguna as in does not have name or form. For instance, when I said this is a projector, everybody is seeing the projector, but the projector is Nama Rupa, as in like I can call this projector shoe. This is shoe. Right? This is something. Name and form. Now get rid of the name and form. What remains is this is. Can you get rid of that? Impossible. That's impossible. You cannot reduce the statement beyond this is, right? That is where it finally ends. The buck stops at this is, right? So I am is where the buck stops. And how do you know that you are is to have a certain faith. Because, and the thing about faith is, if you do not have faith in anything, then you should not have faith in this sentence also. You see, like if you say that I do not believe anything, if somebody says I do not believe anything, I do not have faith in anything, then that person should not believe in that statement also. But faith has a very weird character. When you say that I believe in it, then it lends you support. It lends you support, and so long as you actually get established in it. It's a weird trick of the mind. I mean, I don't know. It's an experience that I've had, that it's a weird trick of the mind, that you trick the mind saying that it is there, but finally you get firmly established in it because you cannot negate it. Ultimately, you cannot negate I am or this is or that is or whatever that is. But yet, it is not that. And I just put this background image, which is this is eye of some reptile, but I wanted to put eye of I think eye of a crocodile itself, right? Do you think it's eye of a crocodile? It has a slit, right? It's not round. It has a slit. So I put this specifically because crocodiles, if you observe them, they are extremely still. They're observing for a very, 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 very long time and only act when it's required. And they've lived for actually much longer than the dinosaurs. So crocodilians belong to this group called archosaurs, which actually predates the Jurassic. So they go beyond the Jurassic. So they have been there from a long time of the universe watching. Who knows whether they know Brahman or not, but they're established in it. There's no doubt about it. They're established in it. But yet it is not this. Yet it isn't this. If you go to the next slide. Okay, actually, the next slide was an empty slide. I had put an empty slide on the fourth slide just to make it a bit symbolic. Okay. So you remember? It's fine. Doesn't matter. So next. Yeah, yeah. No problem. No problem. So I put it. I imagine it's there. I mean, which we can. Yeah. So empty slide, right? So I had put that as the fourth slide simply because fourth is represents Turiya and stuff. And finally, if it has to be something, it has to be nothing, because that empty slide is what is running in and through all the three slides that I showed you before, which is supporter of all the three slides. So if at all there is something, there has to be nothing, because only in nothing can everything emerge and then disappear. So thank you.
He's so interesting. I mean, I would say that is the best expression of something without knowing too much. You know why? I'll tell you why. I'll tell you why. Whatever verse you talked about from your point of view and whatever the meaning is, the Upanishad said, what comes to a scientific mind, which I think you are, you will discuss something called as the hard point of physics, which David Chalmers had brought about. That experience of taste of vanilla, you cannot code it, right? Then you talked about the example of the screen, that last light. The screen is not affected by what is being playing on that. And then you also brought about the concept of shunyavada, nothingness. So I think all these are in the domain of a logical thinker. Ultimately, it is anirvachaniya. So that concept where you don't have to believe in faith, but that where it's not this is important, because that's the way the Upanishad talks. Neti neti. Ramakrishna used to say a very interesting thing, and which I will discuss with you just for 1 minute and then we move on. He says that it is okay, neti neti neti. Totapuri came and gave him the Brahma Jnana. You remember all those things. And he said, you climb the ladder to reach the roof. Ladder is also made of mortar and cement and right. You reach there, you understand, but you have to come back to the world. That person who goes there and comes back, he used to call it Vigyani in Bangla. You're a Gyani, but you don't have to be a Gyani, you have to be a Vigyani. You live in the world and do Karnataka, which is what Sir talks about all the time. So you play the game. That is why that detachment becomes very, very important. Whole concept is that you can understand all this thing. When you come to outside, today itself, the world will come back to you. That's where how you behave, how your inner being is understanding is the most important part. And very good. I will give 100 marks to you. But what I want varies and what I want continues. That's the problem. The apurnatvam results in karma, constant struggle to acquire things, to get fulfillment. This is called as karma, and this keeps going on. Freedom means you're getting out of that, and that is where the whole quest lies, how to get out of it. So I'm not going to talk too much on this because it was a very interesting development and understanding. Let's call Amitabh to do his expression.
Thank you, Doctor. So I'd like to start off by really thanking Dr. Hegde, who introduced me to Vedanta during the pandemic days. So during the pandemic, I think this gave a sense of purpose to keep going. And number two is to the Param Vedanta group, from whom I learnt a lot about this journey. And number three, to my wife Dola, who is here. She is a very, very sincere student of Vedanta, attends all the classes of Param Vedanta, and that gives me a little bit of a motivation. Although I'm not as regular as Dola, but at least try to keep myself motivated towards Vedanta. So, with those few words, I will get started. We are almost getting there. This is the last but one verse of the sixth Valli. So, Hari Om, Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. So, we'll start off with this verse. Yada sarve prabhyayanti hridayasyehe granthiya atha mrityo bhavati etavad anushasanam. So, this is the last but one verse of the sixth Valli. It talks about the obstructions that we need to overcome, or metaphorically speaking, it is compared to the knots in the heart that need to be untied so that one can transcend from being mortal to becoming immortal. With that, let's get into this verse proper. So, what it says here is that one becomes immortal when the knots of the heart are rent asunder. There's so many knots, we call them Brahma Granthi, Vishnu Granthi, Rudra Granthi, etc. These Granthis, or the knots of the heart, are the three cities which Lord Shiva broke with one arrow. He is called Tripura Samhari. He destroyed the three cities of the demons, and the cities are also called as the Granthis. So, metaphorically, these Granthis are knots, which Sir yesterday talked about. These are the three things which constitute avidya, kama, and karma. Avidya, as we know, is the inability to comprehend the nature of reality. So, when you don't know something, that is avidya, our ignorance. Now, this inability to comprehend reality creates desire. It creates a desire to really give us compulsive things that we go after, and this is called kama. And the desire to perceive the world on account of our not being able to perceive the reality makes us run towards fulfilling those desires, and that is called karma. So, avidya, kama, and karma, these are the threefold knots or the granthis that are being spoken about here. So, these knots have to be cut. So, again, there's another story here, the story of the Gordian knot. So, it is told that there was a Gordian knot which was very difficult to untie. So, an emperor called Gordian. He tied it and he wanted somebody to untie it. So Alexander the Great comes and then he just takes a sword and he cuts the knot. Okay, he took a sword and cut the knot into pieces. So what do you do when you cannot untie the knot? You cut it. Okay, so the philosophically um, and in practical sadhana, we have to cut out of our attachments by either untying the knot or cutting the knot. Untying the knot sometimes can take a very, very long time. Okay, it can take years, sometimes it can take many births also to untie a knot. And the other option, of course, is to just cut it in one stroke. Okay, that is much faster, but it could also be dangerous, as they say, because the reaction that is produced by the mind, our mind is not sometimes prepared for it. As Dr. Sanjay told, it's a very, very gradual process. Okay, unless somebody is really prepared, you cannot jump all those steps and cut the knot. But in whichever case, whether you cut the knot if you are prepared or you untie the knot slowly when you need to take a step by step thing, the important thing is that we need a guru or we need a master to be able to help us to show the way. We need proper instructions from a teacher, which is why we are all here. Okay, so the point of the matter is that we need to remove these knots or remove these granthis, and when these knots are removed, when these knots are rent asunder, then a mortal person becomes immortal. Immortal transcends immortal, transcends and becomes immortal. So this is what Dharmaraja Yama tells to Nachiketas. So, and he finally says that this is all there is and there is nothing more to be said. Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha Hari Om.
So we are in the last few verses, and here in the 16th, 17th, and 18th verses, the Yamadharma Raja is talking about these, about the nadis and the mode of death, what happens to the Sukshma Shariram. Shatam chaika cha hridayasya nadya tasam murdhanibhi sataika tayo urdha mayanam amritatvameti Vishwandaya Utkramade Bhavanti. 101 are the nadis of the heart. Among them, one emerges out through the crown of the head. That is the way the prana goes out. Going through that, one attains immortality, and that is the whole concept of the Mooladhara. The energy of the body has to ascend. When it goes through the Brahmarandra, and these nadis are in between obstructions which happen in the upasana or sadhana of a seeker. It doesn't allow the energy to climb. You get stuck in these three granthis which we talked about before in the process of, again, Yoga Shastra. The other have different direction which leads to rebirth. So if the energy doesn't go over, that's why, there is a Kapala Kriya which is done after the body is burned. You break the head of the individual after he's, I'm sure a lot of people have gone and done that. So the last part, they say you have to hit the head to break it open, the brain substance. So that's kind of a understanding. We don't know what happens exactly. I'm sure that probably just is a process in trying to show symbolically what happens. So after obtaining the Vidya, he gets the Videha Mukti, no more birth. If one does karma without upasana, the exit of the self body is through some other nadi and results in rebirth in samsara again. This is to be understood as a final process. There are 101 nadis described. When the subtle body goes to the center, it goes to Shuklagati, Brahmaloka. Still, jnana needs, if you've already got jnana, you can go beyond Brahmaloka. The Sukshma Shariran of a non-upasaka who is a karmi, what is now the Karma Yoga comes here, goes from other nadis. Again, it brings the concept Angusht Matra Purushontaratma Sada Jananam Hridaye Sannavishti Tam Swaksharirat Pravihet Munjadiveshikam Dhairyena Tam Vidyakshu Kramamratam Tam Vijyachu Kramamratam Iti. So whenever the Upanishad wants to signify something, it says twice. Etadvetat, etadveta, just been saying again and again because this is the most important part. What it means is that Purusha, the Atma within, is the size of the thumb, which is telling it again, which we have Angushta Matra, we have known about. It is ever seated in the heart of the people. One should separate from one's own body with diligence. It's like the Munja grass, which cuts if you don't separate it properly. Churasya Dahara, that is the verse comes here also. It is very difficult to treat that path. One should know that to be pure and immortal, one should know that to be pure and immortal, thus ends the teaching. So the teaching ends here. In this word, Lord Amma again returns to tell about the Kramamukti and the Brahma Vidya Phalam is revisited. Inner self, which is size of the thumb, is seated in the mind. Hrid can be Hrid. This is the indweller of the body. We don't know whether the sinus node which is beating our heart, which is probably the size of a small, knob. This understanding, Atma, Anatma Viveka, Drika Drishya Viveka, is the intellectual process and requires a subtle mind. This is what we have discussed so many times. This process should be learned carefully. Munja grass is a sharp covering and it has to be separated from the stalk very carefully. So this is the final meaning. And then it says, in summary, identification with the body and identification of the Atma Brahman is Brahma Vidya. Chin Mudra symbolizes that Jiva Paramatma Aikyam. Jivatma Paramatma Aikyam and separation from the three gunas. This is Brahma Vidya. Thank you very much. Oh, the last one. Sorry. The last one, the 18th verse, which is very important. Mrityorpoktam nachiketa labdhva vidyametam yoga vidam chikutsam brahma prapto virajo vimutri anya epi ev yam evam vidam adhyatmam. This is what he's saying. Nachiketa completely acquired the knowledge along with the method of yoga which was taught by Lord Yamaraja. Thus, having attained Brahman, he became pure and immortal. Anyone else too can do that who knows the Atma. This is the conclusion of the Upanishad. It is glorifying Nachiketas, who was a brilliant student, who received Brahma Vidya and got liberated. Upanishad says that anyone receiving this wisdom in the same manner will attain Brahman and become immortal. There is no restriction of gender, caste, or ashrama. Anyone who studies Kathopanishad will be liberated here and now. This is the Falashruti of the Upanishad. I think now we can say thank you very much. This ends the study of Kathopanishad. Yes, Shanti Mantra will be there. So that will happen now.
Namaste, Hari Om, Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. So everyone is wondering why this Shanti Pata in the end, because this is usually chanted in the beginning. So if you remember, most of the time the Shanti mantras are in the beginning so that we start something which will be very relevant, which will give us blessings to start like a prayer. But this is going to be in the end. As to why, I will explain it in the future. So this is a Shanti mantra which is taken from the Taittiriya Upanishad as well as the Kathopanishad. So this is basically invoked before starting any event, any project, or any work when we are going to do. So let us chant the mantra. I request all of you to chant the mantra along with me. Om Sahana Vavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai तेजस्विनावतीतमस्तु विद्विषावहै ॐ शान्तिः Once more. ॐ सहनावतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः। Thank you. So Shanti Pata is usually we invoke when we want something from God, either physical health, mental health, or we want a long life, or we want some money or wealth. That is the time. But this is one Shanti Pata which is basically done for having study. We want some study, we want a knowledge, and that is very, very relevant, especially in the last 3 days what has taken place. So that is the reason we have this Shanti Pata in the end, that whatever we have learnt in the last 2 to 3 days will give us that knowledge and we will be able to assimilate. So going to the next slide, okay, the Om, the goal, Om means the goal of the human being, that is the Brahman, Atman, the purpose of the study. And that is the reason we have all gathered here. Who is this we? We is the Guru as well as the Shishya. Next, Sahana Vavatu. Protect us both. Protect both the Guru, protect Guru and Shishya. From where it should be protected? Protect us from ignorance. Let us not get distracted when we are trying to get knowledge. Let us not have a wrong understanding. We are all learning the same, but all of us can have a different way of understanding. Let it not be a wrong understanding. With all this humility, let us surrender in receiving the knowledge or the jnana. Sahanau bhunattu. Bhunattu means nourished, energized, protected. So, after we have received the teaching without any obstacles, the student has to get assimilated the teaching and it has to bring about a transformation in that person. That is Jnana Nishta. So, if you remember, we chanted the mantra twice because it has a lot of relevance. The first chanting is to get Jnanam, and the second chanting is to become Jnana Nishta. Sahaviryam Karavavahai. So let us put forth all our efforts to get this goal. And the effort should be both from the teacher as well as the student. So when we say the effort, it is not that it is going to be only from Bhagavan. It is not just Ishvara Anugraha, but there is to be Atma Anugraha also. We have to decide it that we want transformation. It is not that God decides that among all of us, this person should get moksha, this person should get Brahman. It is the person, the man or the woman who chooses that they want the goal or the Brahman. And that is the reason this is called as a Purushartha or a human goal. Tejasvinavaditamastu. So after receiving this teaching and we have assimilated, let us bring about transformation in ourselves, so that whatever we have learnt, let us not just receive it but also retention, grahana dharana shakti, so that the retention as well as the reception happens and it makes us bright, tejasvi in our mind, so that we are enriched, we are beneficial, and we are clear and not confused. With Vishavahai, let us not have any strain in our emotional relationship. This is basically discussing about the relationship between the Guru and the Shishya. So when there is a discussion happening between the Guru and the Shishya, the Guru should show lot of love and care when there is teaching, as well as the Shishya should have lot of reverence, faith, respect towards the Guru to receive the teaching. So that when this discussion happens, there should not be quarrel, there should not be heat, but there should be light. So that there is truth and the person receives the jnana. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. The obstacles, Adrushta, Drushta obstacles, all the three sources, Adi Daivika, Adi Bhautika, Adi Adhyatmika, all this Vignaha should be removed. So here you see in the next slide, the student is praying to the Lord to seek 5 factors. The Prayatnaha, effort, Meda Shakti, that is Grahana Dharana Shakti, so that the person gets the Jnanam, and the benefit of this jnanam is jnana phalam. And there is transformation bringing about equanimity or samatvam. So, in our pursuit to gain jnanam, let us be successful with Atma Prayatnaha and Ishvara Anugraha. Thank you.